championship, I made it type of vibe. So from the first ride in Japan to training camp, so they said,
let's go, Butanang.
The ride from the practice facility to the hotel is about an hour. So the hour and a half practice, Draymond's being Draymond. Go in that pool. Are you going to win this year? Are you going to win a game this year? Are you going to win any practice this year? You are a loser. Y'all, you can't carry your second team, right? Back and like, he did it for 5, 6. Who never said a word. Now, I want you to really think about the mindset of, in Jordan Poole's playing, you're playing against Draymond, right?
Ei, sieltä on tuossa Mariono.
The first unit.
Boy.
The problem with that is they have hurry when practices, ain't no losing. Hurry is never losing to no second unit team. That's his mindset. So when they're fives, he ain't on that bullshit. He losing to these scrubs, these bench players. So Hurry don't lose, which means he's always in mode, which means, against that first unit, possible for Jordan Poole and the second unit that he had. So Draymond is using, are you going to ever get a win? Are you ever going, you talking about you want the big money, carry your second team, right? So that's his energy the whole time in training camp, right? Jordan Poole taking L's, second unit taking L's, Curry on this shit. They say Curry's right? He ain't trying to lose a shit. So it got so bad. Chad stepped in, right? Poole never said a word. He just, right? Steve Kerr stepped in and pulled Jordan Poole to the side and put. Oh, Poole, you gonna let that? Do you like this? For yourself, be a man, right? I'm giving the okay to talk shit. I mean, you supposed to be the leader of the second team. Don't let just punk you and just say all this shit. Come on, say something back. So Jordan Poole's like, okay, right? So by the time they got back,
I know, man.
Open San Fran. Right? Jordan Poole was Munchie that day. Oh, they said Jordan Poole was Jimi Hendrix in that bitch. Oh, yeah, he was damn Leonard scoring. Woo! He was Jokic all season. But they said every shot he hit, y'all can't stop me. Y'all know what I do. I'm him, like they said. Bold, right? And Draymond.
Hey.
I don't know I know the story because I was using these lines, last line. They said, I took it. Talking to Draymond. Come on, do something. Are you going to read your whole career? You see me carrying it. I don't think we carry
No, man.
Yeah, you like that. So he just going, killing, right? Draymond missing layers. You need stars. You can't do what I can do. So, unfortunately, Curry and that looking too, right? Jordan Poole, damn. The whole career. It's carry you your whole career. But he said Draymond got the ball, right? Game point. He got the ball stolen. Missed the layup.
Hey.
Right? Draymond, and I guess the ball bounced and it got to Curry. Curry hit the three. Damn, right? They say Draymond talk shit. Yeah, get off. Oh, good shit. Keep carrying that man. Keep carrying him. Carry you, boy. All your championships. You like an accessory. I see where I get shit from. It was Jordan Poole's line. You like an accessory. You like a Gucci backpack. You like a very expensive, not the main item when you're going. Right? They're going to the store to get right, and then they got an upsell. They said they got an upsell. Like when you go into they said, on cloud nine. On cloud, they said he on like everything's clicking. Like he must have been home just thinking this year when I get back, I'm about to kill this tomorrow. So they said, yeah, you just an expensive backpack. You're just carrying you. Oh, he got you on his. Come on, Draymond, I got you, boy. I'm gonna help you, right? You just an accessory. Like what is it?
No,
Very expensive accessory. Like when they go in the store, like they getting ready to leave, and someone say, "Hey man, this
Está kay coño.
here you go. That's your owner. Let me go ahead and put that in the bag." That's what. So everyone's laughing. They said everyone's laughing because he's doing the whole thing. Everybody laughing at Draymond. So they said Jordan. He got off. There was nothing Draymond can do. He got off. He 30 said you, I'm balling. It's over. Practice was over, right? Practice was over.
Que jode.
Draymond Green got laughed at. Jordan Poole finally stood up for himself, right? That was it. That was it. I get punched that day. Yeah, the narrative is he said something, got punched. No, that was the incident the day before. This happened the day before. Now, the next day, go ahead and lay it out for you. All right. So the next day,
Ay, coño.
he's not practicing. Right? Plays on the side, getting shots up. They say down the court on the other side. So Looney, I think like a Looney. I forgot.
No hay nang Ay, din coño, guys.
Now, this is important. Looney young boy is Jordan Poole. Right? Looney's big homie is Draymond Green. But y'all keep that in the back of your minds. Go ahead and put it like that for right now. So before practice started,
Que the guy ng
a player and said, "Hey man,
referee. Oh, damn, sa kakarchi, bang. Masora.
It feels like he's going through something. He's different today, right? So they said Draymond was already, he wasn't being Draymond, right?
Slecht mensen, slecht van, slecht beginnen.
He wasn't on that today, right? He was different. He wasn't Draymond Green today. So, if you look at it, I need y'all to think about what you're looking at right here. Red and blue, Jordan. All right? So, Draymond's well, unfortunately, Jordan Poole ain't saying shit. Draymond's trying to get it. But Poole is like, nah, I'm good. Trying to do. I won yesterday. I don't need to win no more. I won yesterday. Sorry, not going to do it. Right? So, Jordan Poole is not really actually entertaining Draymond, right? Draymond got this energy that he needs to get out, but Jordan Poole ain't entertaining it. So, let's play the video so we can see how this went down.
Correct. You see Draymond Green get chest to chest with Jordan Poole, and then Draymond almost steps back.
All right, and whoo, shit, that boy got hit into another dimension. Now, he got hard. Woo, shit. Hey, but look, y'all see it's blue versus red, which means Jordan Poole ain't actually on the floor playing. He's not actually on the floor talking shit. He on the sideline. He ain't practicing.
Está bom.
He's just chilling. Draymond is trying to get that energy today in practice. So what happened here was this.
Walked over to Poole.
He was talking shit to Poole, trying to get him to get going. Poole said, "I know what you own. I know what you own. I ain't on that today. I ain't back up by my face." So that was the push. Back up by my face, and Draymond hit him. Right. So that's what this is. Poole's words to Draymond was about my face because Draymond was on one today. He needed this energy. Now you can see for the most part, none of the players seen this shit. There's only people that actually see what happened. Curry didn't see this. Blay didn't see this. They all got their backs. So they only see what happened. They all found out when it got big like this. So
No nang bay sakal matrumeno.
So this guy right here, he's side trying to break this story. wrong too because he's Jordan Poole because of the words, which that happened the day before the modern NBA.
Correct. You see Draymond Green get chest to chest with Jordan Poole, and then Draymond almost steps back as if to charge up a punch in a video game. And it's a full body effort.
He cool.
It's remarkable. Like, he flies forward with the right hand.
Yeah, it's a straight right. Yeah.
A straight right. And Jordan Poole, in this video, collapses to the floor.
Yeah, and the Warriors season collapsed along with it.
Okay. Now, part is very... Jordan got knocked out. Oh, no. Jordan, he was... Little did he know, he was already in Washington. So that nigga knocked him into Washington already. Let's just be honest. So, after this hit, Draymond, the locker, right? And they said... Iggy follows him. They said Iguodala, I think the player that followed him. This is where
guy, aqui cantou.
Needs to tell a story so you can really understand. This is the part that people gotta really try to understand. They said Draymond Green is in the locker room that crying, and they said Iggy is, I think Iggy's trying to talk to him, right? Right, like, yeah, man, what's going on, man? What's the problem? How you feeling, bro? And Draymond's words were about his kids, right? The news he got, I guess he was going through something with his mother of his kids. That's what was on, right? He's crying for whatever happened in that morning at the practice. So they said the person that came in was the Curry Looney. Looney came in and he's looking at Iguodala. Looney was like, so I guess I think them got up and he was talking to.
I think Coibo mama ate buraco with it. No so that. I seen him no so that.
Dude out. He just knocked dude out. Like he knocked the homie out. The homie got knocked out. Like wait, what? Nah. I think he has family problems. So Draymond mentally. He was thinking about what happened or what was going on.
Bang arriba Swanang.
Now, I know, Nia, there's no excuses. I get that, right? It makes sense, right? It's easy to say that. Excuses on something like that. You really need to understand that it wasn't in real time. He didn't even know what he actually did. He mentally wasn't there. Now,
din coño.
Aanbiedingen per euro. De Volkswagen Golf vanaf 1200 euro. €500 en nog veel meer. Meer dan 300 tweedehands auto's tegen topprijzen. Vakantie. Vind nu jouw zomerdeal bij Auto Hero. Europa's grootste onafhankelijke autodealer.
Sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction. And today I'm going to share 2 stories that demonstrate that. But before we get into those stories, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, come to the right place because that's all we do, and we upload once a week. So if that's of interest to you, the next time the like button leaves their phone out unattended, go ahead and pick it up and spam passwords over and over again until it locks them out of their phone for a week. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Let's get into today's stories. At around 8 p.m. on December 16th, 2023, a 31-year-old man named Nestor Flores was driving down the highway just Texas, both his hands tightly gripping the steering wheel. Nestor was very stressed out on this ride. All he wanted to do was get home because he was worried that on this ride, he might get pulled over by police. I mean, this was a route he had driven a bunch, and he knew there were loads of state troopers that patrolled the area. And from his perspective, it seemed like they kind of pulled people out with a couple of friends, and he had a couple of drinks. You know, he didn't feel he had had too much. And then on top of that, you know, in the back of Nestor's mind was also, Nestor was not born in America. And so he was worried that on top of all that, if he got pulled over, he could risk being deported. And so on hold, Nestor just does not want to see a police officer. He just wants to go home and go to bed. So as to not draw any suspicion to himself and is trying to decides to have a sip of his Diet Coke. And his Diet Coke was right in the middle console. So as he's driving straight ahead,
Okay.
taps it, takes a sip, keeping his eyes on the road, hits something with the drink. He feels the drink splosh out of his cup and hits his hand. Instinctively, he took his eyes off the road and looked down at the Coke, and he managed to put the drink back in its cup. Back to the road, there was a deer in the middle of the road. He was too close to swerve out of the way, and so at full speed, he smashes this deer. The deer hits his front windshield and basically caves in the passenger side windshield and flips up and over the back of his car. And Nestor, amazingly, was close to not swerve wildly post-impact, because he did that, he could run into oncoming traffic or something. So he just kept on going straight and gradually slowed down and pulled off the side of the road. And as he did, he looked over, seeing if this deer was basically lying in the road, or even worse, maybe it hit some other car. But when he looked over his shoulder, there was no deer. Now, even though Nestor was obviously very shaken up at this point, car accident with his sister, he's already on edge about getting pulled over by police. But at the moment, it was away. No cops were coming up to him, and physically he was okay. It seemed like the deer was okay.
I know.
And there was damage to his car, out of his car, and the windshield, especially on the passenger side, was basically caved in. But Nestor was able to get his side of the windshield, car back and drive, and hit the gas, drive just fine. So even though Nestor felt kind of bad that he had smashed this deer, he thought, what am I going to do? Go find the deer and make sure anything at the time. Made the decision that, nobody saw this, and it seems like everything's okay, so I'm just going to drive.
Pero tiene... Abri sua. Ay.
Blow up out of the front of his car. And Nestor knew going to get pulled over if he doesn't stop. And so feeling really annoyed because he's actually Nestor pulled off the highway and came to a stop in a parking lot of a fast food restaurant. And so first, all Nestor did was just turn off his car and wait for a couple of minutes, and that that would be enough to start his car. But after a couple of minutes, he was out of his
Ja, men hade inte... Vi är bon fired up, pero... Stretch aim back aussi. Okay, so...
Can't even call a tow truck. Then he looked up and saw the fast food restaurant was open, and he decided he would just go ask one of them if they had a truck.
Let's go, guys.
Walks into the restaurant, he goes up to the counter, and he asks the person behind the counter, like, hey, do you have a charger? Do you mind charging my phone? They didn't say back to Nestor. They just stood there with their mouths open and their eyes wide, staring at Nestor, like they couldn't believe what they were looking at.
Bangalan!
Have a charger or not? Who by this point is pale as a ghost, just their head at Nestor, like, no, they don't have a charger. Nestor is genuinely just furious. I mean, the whole night is completely derailed here. All he wanted to do was... It's like one horrible thing happens after another. And so Nestor was just like, okay, fine. Turned around, and he left the restaurant and went back to his car, thinking maybe his whole vehicle be a charger in there somewhere. Nestor gets back into his car, he climbs into the driver's seat, shuts the door, begins looking around his car for this charger. He begins to get really sleepy.
Fuck.
Falls asleep in.
No, kanske det går.
¿Qué sa?
Coño!
Nestor woke up to the sound of somebody tapping on his window. Nestor groggily turned and looked, and it was like the worst case scenario. The officer, who was shining his flashlight into the vehicle, gesturing for Nestor to roll his window down. Nestor was totally compliant. He rolled the window down and looked at the officer, and before Nestor could even say anything, the officer said, "Get out of the car." Nestor, he gets out of the car and he's thinking, why is he acting so aggressive?
Ambo.
So Nestor, he gets out of the car and again, Nestor can ask any questions. The officer just says to Nestor, what happened? Like, what's going on? He knows his car is
Coño.
here. He is sleeping in the parking lot, and so he turns to the officer and begins down the road. He hits the steer. He didn't see it. He didn't report it. And as he's telling the officer this, he's thinking, gosh, like, is there a law? Like, if you hit a deer, are you supposed to report? The deer did die, and it was in the middle of the road, and somebody saw his license. How the cop was here.
I think going mamagay.
Trying to explain the logic behind leaving there and how sorry he was. He should have stopped. He should have called the police. The officer finally just put up his hand and asked her to stop talking, and then the officer took his flashlight and he shined it past Nestor at his. When the officer did that, the officer immediately grabbed his radio and barking orders into it, saying he needed backup. And so Nestor's like, what is going on? Like, this whole night is a disaster. Like, what did I do? He turned to see what the cop was looking on his car that would have a big response from him.
Ooh.
Where the cop's light was now shining, Nestor froze for a second and then just started to scream. Turned out that even though Nestor believed he'd only had, a few drinks and he was okay to drive, the reality was annihilated drunk and should never have been behind the wheel. And when he was driving on the highway, trying to get home, well, he didn't hit a 45-year-old pedestrian named Terry Ivory. I was so
Ai, bota lagi ang makita bala sini swa.
and then landed in the passenger seat, minus one leg, which had been severed on impact. Terry's dead body sat there in the passenger. Nestor having no idea. There's a deer back there, but there was never a deer. There's just
Mama.
What did?
Nestor just drove 40 more miles with Terry's dead body next to him. Then when Nestor's car began to smoke, he pulled off the highway to that fast food restaurant parking lot. Then when he went inside the reason that
No. Ai, ding coño, mama.
head to toe in blood. Terry's blood. Now, it's not entirely clear why that employee did not immediately after Nestor left the restaurant, went back to his car, and fell asleep. During the time Nestor was sleeping, someone inside the restaurant did call the police. That's why they showed up and knocked on Nestor's door. Nestor was charged with collision involving death in December of 2003. However, his case has not yet been adjudicated. Here, we announced the very first Mr. graphic novel, and the release date is fast approaching. It's coming out on October 1st, which also happens to be my birthday. Now, this is a labor of love for a year to put this thing together, and I'm telling you, it's fantastic. There are 4 brand new feature-length stories that I have never told.
I know, man.
Then 5 OG, like classic Mr. Ballin stories that have been edited and reformatted to fit the graphic novel. So, if you haven't done this already, go to book.ballinstudios.com to pre-order a copy of this amazing graphic novel.
No, man.
Hey, no!
Just a few on October 1st.
Ay.
Let's tell you stories.
Yes, man.
Young, mom.
Audiobook version of the graphic novel. Just me, it's not that. I actually went wildly off script for every story, spicing them up a bit.
So
that I had gone so wrong during this audiobook. But I'm telling you, it wound up making the audiobook really unique. It's basically like its own thing now, and it's a great companion to the graphic novel because it's not just the words. It's like an expansion of what you're seeing on the page. So the audiobook, it's pretty good. So just go to
Sali hala back to bong.
On the afternoon of December 15th, 1997, a brand new mother named Lucy
Fucking I didn't go on your swa.
Cradling her beautiful 10-day-old baby girl. Members of Lucy's extended family. For about an hour, the family all took turns, holding the baby. complimenting how cute her little
Passe bala!
fussy, which point Luz
Oh,
said,
boy.
brought Delamar upstairs to her nursery, and she put the baby down in her crib, and she stayed with her for a bit until Delamar finally had kind of after being sure that the daughter wasn't going to stir, she got up and she began making her way towards the door. Right before she left, she made sure to plug in the space heater in her daughter's room to make sure it would stay warm enough. And after that, she left the room, shut the nursery door, and went back downstairs to read. The family didn't stick around much downstairs. After they were all gone, realized she was totally exhausted and her daughter was still fast asleep upstairs. Decided she would also go down and try to take a nap herself. But as soon as she closed her eyes, she heard this loud thud sound coming from the second floor. It sounded like something really heavy had smashed into the ground. Her daughter's up there. Could that be her
Tira
daughter's?
e baliconha sua. Ai, ai, ai.
Upstairs, down the hall, she could. There was black
Botei.
out of her daughter's nursery, and so Luz charges down the hall. She opens up the door.
Sige, bye, no.
On fire, but it's her baby girl in there, and so without and Luz charges in.
Ali fo.
But when she gets up to the crib, like the crib is so fire that when she her daughter, and so in a craze, she begins looking around the room, thinking maybe my daughter did fall out of the crib. Somewhere else in the room, on fire. She's like around fire and breathing in all the smoke, screaming for her daughter, and then firefighters
No.
literally drag Luz out of the nursery. She hasn't found her daughter.
Ay, shit.
Firefighters, they bring her outside, and a couple of minutes later, they were able to extinguish Luz. And they found Luz, who had all terrible burns in her body, and she's totally stuck to this fire. Tell her that, unfortunately, her daughter. After Delamar's death, Luz's life completely fell apart. I mean, the grief was so immense. Like she could no longer function in society. I mean, she actually retracted from the world, stopped interacting with people, didn't see her family, wound up getting a divorce from her husband just over the sadness of losing this child. I mean, it was like her life basically ended.
Gagliotti.
On top of that,
Yeah,
so felt an incredible sense of because after the fire, the cause of the fire, although not conclusive, was very likely from that
Fucking
space.
guy. Ay, ay, ay.
So of course, you know, Luz is feeling this burden for having her daughter over the details. And it wasn't conclusive that it was the space heater. That was their best guess as to what caused the fire. And so Luz wonder, like, something else. Was it preventable?
Hamburgai. Di ko mabirasin nisso.
Completely obsessed with what happened to her daughter. It was like...
Noy nang. Ay, ay, ay. Sera, fa che una commedia che amo.
On this day, invited to a family party. There was a get-together, and basically never went to any family function, left her house much at some reason. On this day, she decided to party, and when she gets there, you know, remember, Luz has basically been a past 6 years. Not going to immediately finds a spot in the back, kind of away from the wedding, and just stands there, kind of. Something catches her eye, and when it is, 3 days later, Luz walked into the office of a local. After saying hello, she sat down, reached into her, out a little plastic bag that contained slid it across the table to the legislator. Bag and stared at it inquisitively as a mild explanation about what was in this bag and why she. At the end of this totally off-the-wall and sounding story, the legislator was left just kind of staring at Luz and looking at the bag in total shock. And then finally, after a couple of silence, the legislator just said, "Okay, yeah, I can do." Fire was not
Passe balla sua.
plugged in right before she left her daughter's room. Instead, downstairs and tried to take a nap, somebody broke into her apartment, went into the nursery, and set the fire on purpose, not before abducting the baby. That person was one of Luce's own members who had been in her apartment that day celebrating the birth of Delamar Vera. It was Luce's husband's cousin, Carolyn Correa. And in fact, on this same day, before the fire and before the abduction, announced to the whole family pregnant. It wasn't. It was just going to be her. Why she suddenly had this pregnancy. Years later, when Luce was at that family party, well, caught her attention on the other side of the room was her daughter. She literally saw her daughter, and even though she hadn't seen her in 6 years, she really knew it was her because of her.
No, hala, nambu.
She couldn't just suddenly yell out like, "My
Pasa
daughter!"
bala swa.
She came up with this plan. Walked up to the girl and very discreetly said, "Hey, honey, I think you can gum in your hair." As she pretended gum out of the child's hair, she carefully plucked a few strands and put them inside of a napkin and put it inside of her pocket. And then 3 days later, she brought that hair inside of that plastic baggie and gave it to the legislator. What happened? I think she stole my kid, her DNA to prove the girl is my daughter. The legislator was like, "Hey, I'll give it a shot." And behold, that hair would prove that girl at the party was her daughter. She did not die in that fire. Rhea was sentenced to 9 to 30 years in prison for arson. She originally had an arson charge against her as well, but they ultimately dropped those charges. Officials also launched an inquiry into how the fire department handled the investigation. Officials that,
Sí, van klikar mejor eso, ¿no?
She was just missing because when
Punto no se quiere, pero dos saldos y no, man. Aunque con algo se gana.
Daughter had been totally incinerated, and that's why she couldn't find her. In the end, though, because of her refusal
failed to join game session
with her daughter, Delamar. Okay, so if you're not our show called Run Fool, you are really missing out on a truly special and unique podcast. Now, it's technically a podcast, but honestly, it's so much more. Every episode is a fresh take on terrifying lore, modern ghost story wrapped up in a tightly scripted narrative. Also, remember, Run Fool is a Ballin Studios podcast. A plot twist or room. Rodney Barnes is the iconic host of Run Fool. Today's sure you stick around for 4 bonus places you can't go stories. Each of these bonus stories have been completely re-edited, so even if you've heard them, this will be a totally new experience. But before we get into those stories, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story, come to the right place because that's all we do. We upload once a week. So, if that's of interest to you, the next time you take the like button camping with you, offer to set up their tent.
No.
Directly on a fire. Also, please subscribe to our channel and all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly videos. Okay, let's get into today's story.
La pasé toch, boom. Toch, amanhã só.
At 12:20 a.m. on August 17th, 2020, a police sergeant Bingham was sitting inside of his cruiser in the parking lot in Scottsdale, Arizona, down when he heard a strange sound. Place exactly what it was. At first, it sort of sounded like a cat would make in a fight, but at the same time, the sound was sort of echoey, almost like it was in a cave. But Sergeant Bingham is looking around him, and there's baseball field, there's houses and apartment buildings. I mean, he's in a typical American neighborhood. No caves.
De Roald. Ay.
From here to Sergeant Bingham is that whoever or whatever was making this noise sounded like they needed help, and so he decided he would go investigate. So Sergeant Bingham left the parking lot, turned right onto the road, and began driving roughly in the direction of the sound. Again, remember, the sound is kind of echoey. It's very hard to place where it's coming from. But as he continued driving down this road, Sergeant Bingham realized the noise was getting louder, and so he must be getting closer. And so just ahead of Sergeant Bingham at the end of this road is this huge
Boom.
fitness center
Boom, Alan. Boom.
area, and then surrounding the pool area was a tall brick fence. Sergeant Bingham thought, maybe the sound, the screeching sound, is coming from somewhere in the health club. And so Sergeant Bingham drives up to the health club, parks his cruiser, he gets out, turns on his flashlight. Right away, he hears more screeching, and immediately Sergeant Bingham can tell it's coming from inside of the enclosed area, behind that 12-foot tall.
Boy, calling me mama.
Again, whatever it is, it's in there. And also, time is kind of pinned.
Nada com comer aqui. Não flopping.
Sound like an animal. Sounds like a person. Sergeant Bingham runs up to the brick wall.
Kung amo po kore yegabo torswa. Sierra que konambu.
Sound. If he can hear, splashing sounds or some other activity inside of the pool area that kind of give away what's actually happening. Maybe somebody snuck in after hours and struggling to swim in one of these pools. But as he's trained to listen,
Ay, guy!
And the flopping.
And so as Sergeant Bingham wondering how he was going to get in the area to see what was going on, and he saw there were two gym leaders coming out of the fitness center. Sergeant Bingham ran to them and he asked them, hey, are you the only two that are working in the health club right now, or is there somebody out in the pool area? Sergeant Bingham had just shook their head and said, no, we are the only.
Thank you.
That screeching sound too. We don't know what it is. And then shortly after they said this to Sergeant Bingham, suddenly the noise sounds changed. These guttural, high-pitched screeches to somebody yelling out a single help. And so the second Sergeant Bingham heard this, he grabbed his radio, and about 2 minutes later, and Bingham and the other officer ran inside. They cut through the huge gym to the very back where there were doors that led out to the pool area. The area is huge, actually the biggest part of this health club.
Coño, passe balla sua.
We're expecting to, see a person that's calling out for help. But instead, once they get outside, it's no activity anywhere. Right in front of them are these two pools. There's this huge lap pool.
Su dilanti. Ay, no.
Another pool, a water playground right in the middle of it, but that one as well is devoid of calm. So officers are looking at each other like, where is this person that clearly was calling for help a second ago? But just then, the cries for help began again. This time, they were where it was coming from. Coming from a third pool, back of the pool area, beyond these two pools, on some cabanas, there was this third shallow pool with water slides going into it. The sound of these screeches, it sounded very much like At this point, Sergeant Bingham became a little bit skeptical that whoever this was really needed help. He felt like it was more likely snuck in after hours, high on drugs, or mental ill, and now they're just kind of causing a scene inside one of the slides. Or maybe it's somebody who snuck in just to play a prank, to screw with the cops and act like they were in trouble when they really weren't. And so Sergeant Bingham looks at the other officer, and they kind of are like, okay, let's go see what's going on here. They make their way over to the slides. There's two slides. There's one slide sliding down it. You'd be visible the entire time you're on the slide. And there's nobody on this slide. Whoever is making sounds, they're not on or in. The other slide, the red slide, was a tube slide, and so if you were going down the slide, you'd be hidden inside the tube. Help has got to be inside of this red slide. And so the two officers went to the big red slide, and they looked up inside of it, but they couldn't see anyone. Big enough slide that it was possible they were, just beyond their line of sight. And so Sergeant Bingham just yelled in, like, hey, are you okay? And the person did respond to this, but they didn't respond with words. They just responded with more screeching. And so Sergeant Bingham tells the other officer, hey, right here at the foot of the slide, I'm going to go up and go down the slide. Middle, we'll find this person, and we'll get them out of here. The other officer stays put, and Sergeant Bingham goes to the stairs. He makes his way up to the top of the platform that led to the slides. top of the red slide, and he looked down into it, but he couldn't see anybody. Again, the slide was long enough. It's possible that from both sides, looking up and looking down, your line of sight would not allow you to see the person right in the middle. So Sergeant Bingham yelled into the slide, like, hey, I'm coming down, and my partner's coming up. We're going to find you here. Like, if you're in there, go down. Get out of the slide. But again, the response they got was not words. It was just more guttural
Ay, no, balla ribaggi. Lolo.
Sergeant Bingham gets his flashlight and aims it straight ahead of him, and he begins slowly making his way down the slide. And at the same time, his partner at the bottom began making his way up the slide. Officers are yelling, like, hey, if you're in here, we're coming in, like, let's go, you gotta get out of here. But again, all they're hearing is screaming. As the officers get close to the middle, they're expecting to see someone. Suddenly, both officers come face to face right in the middle of this red slide. Nobody there. It's just them. And so at this point, both officers are totally freaked out. This did not make sense. They've been listening to this person screaming out for the last few minutes, and it sounded so much like they were in this slide. Like, how could they not be? And so Sergeant Bingham and the other officer get out of the slide, and they start screaming out for this person, like, hey, tell us where you are. But in response, they just continue to get more and more desperate-sounding screeches. And it sounded like the screeches
Coño, guy.
were somewhere really high.
Ay, den coño.
There's nowhere for this person to be. Having no other ideas, Sergeant Bingham went over to the blue slide.
Jeffrey.
Very clearly, nobody is on. But he hopped on it and thought, let me just check. And he began going up the slide. It actually went around in the middle like a corkscrew. And so as Sergeant Bingham began walking up the slide began to turn. And so he began walking along this section of the slide on the way to the top. And about halfway up the corkscrew section, when he's basically halfway up the slide, Sergeant Bingham just stopped and just kind of stand around because now he's at a higher position, a better vantage point across this outdoor area. And he's looking around him, despite still hearing these screams coming out of what feels like right where he is. He doesn't see anybody.
Coño.
As he continues to slide, something catches his eye just below him. Stops, and he kind of leans over the edge of this blue slide and looks straight down. Not believe.
Referee. Saku.
Turnout earlier that night, so right before 12:20 a.m., which is when Sergeant Bingham first heard that screeching sound. A 32-year-old man,
Coño.
naked and high on meth,
Ay, Antonio.
stairs that led up to the platform that allowed you to go down the red and blue slides. And once he got up there, instead of sliding down the slide, he began walking down that blue slide, top slide that has a corkscrew section in the middle. He began walking down it, and when he got about halfway down it, around the part where it began to
Coño sua. Ay.
he must have looked around him and noticed there was a support beam basically running from the ground straight up basically as high as the blue slide was, where there were all these arms branching off of it that supported the corkscrew section of the slide. It was just holding the corkscrew up. And from where Ryan was standing,
Tonto guy ng bang sua.
top of this beam, open. It was around an 18-inch diameter box. Person,
Otro matafai.
you're not supposed to go side of this support beam. Ryan, being high on meth, decided he would out of the support beam. Climbed up to the top of it and then wedged his feet. This narrow opening. Ryan's a pretty skinny guy. He's naked. He's slick with sweat. And he began lowering himself into this pipe, this hollow pipe that goes all the way to the ground. And after there, and his legs in there, he's forcing himself down. He finally got most of it. Then he would have realized his hands would not be able to fit unless he put them over his head. And so he put his arms over his head, down into this pipe. And at some point, probably around the time that his shoulders cleared the pipe, he kind of slipped pretty quickly, about half down the pipe. Not to the ground, basically suspended right in the middle of this tight pipe. Now, we don't know for sure.
Jugó na siniswa. Ay, no, man.
about halfway down the pipe with his arms over his head, there was absolutely no way he could get himself out of
Trobe
the
ba talaga kita ko ni... Ay, no.
wedged, barely able to breathe. And on top of that, he's in Arizona. It's one of the hottest places in the world. And on top of that, they were experiencing a heat. And his body, his naked body, is pressed
Kidiyalan ba, no?
of this metal pipe, ducts heat. And so he's basically in this really tight line, and there's no out. And so at some point, as Ryan is likely realizing that he is completely screwed here, and he's beginning to literally cook to death, trying to scream out for help, but he was likely in so much pain, and also, again, under the influence of that he couldn't quite yell out words. He just let out those horrible screeching sounds, and those were that Sergeant Bingham heard. But then when Sergeant Bingham and his partner got into the area, they were able to identify roughly where Ryan was stuck. But Ryan, again, couldn't make words. He's so messed up, he's in so much pain that he just continued to scream. And because he was in that pipe, it kind of created this weird phenomenon where when he would scream out, his voice would come out of the pipe and kind of get thrown around the park.
Ay, tengo.
Where he was, and at one point it sounded like he was in that red slide.
Kikisaki.
And so finally, at some point, Sergeant Bingham walked up the blue slide. He's
Free.
halfway up, Ryan screaming, burns, and perspective where he was standing, looking down into that pipe. And looking up at him inside of this pipe is Ryan, arms up over his head, wide-eyed, trying to be saved. But unfortunately, Ryan, his rescue was a very technically thing to pull off. He was far down the pipe for him to pull him up, and when they threw a rope down to him inside of the pipe, Ryan was too weak to grab onto the rope. For hours and hours, rescue crews tried to get Ryan out. The whole time Ryan is panicking and cooking to death, basically. They couldn't get him out, and so finally, at the 7-hour mark, after he was found, they had to bring in a crane, and they had to fully dismantle the slide and pull that pipe out of the ground. But unfortunately, by that point, for Ryan passed away. An autopsy would show that ultimately what killed him, combination of the meth in his bloodstream and the extreme heat inside of him. As many of you may know, the biggest event ever to come out of Ballin Studios is fast approaching. From September 26th to October 20th, I will be on tour. I'll be visiting 15 across the United States.
No.
Dark and mysterious stories live in person. Last year we did one show. It was a sold-out show in Austin, Texas. To kind of trial run this.
Pero no pesino, Lolo.
Telling stories, and loved it. And there was huge demand for more. And so here we are, doing 15 more shows. Tickets for these 15 shows have been selling, but there are still tickets available. If you add it to basically right now, all you have to do is go to
Ay, tengo, cámbialo.
Nearest you or whichever one you're interested in, click
Quick.
on the link.
If there
are tickets still available, you could buy them through that link.
Se flöjt
If you're lucky, you might even
Sa pleito weg din kamer, dat tempo.
this guy, if that's of interest to you. Just for our
Dat is
VIP,
2. Okay.
copy of our novel, and also when we meet.
Zero
And so the
back.
way
Okay.
book is either you have already pre-ordered it, or you can buy a copy at the theater. We'll be selling them on. Again, I'm going to be on tour from September 26th to October 20th, telling stories in person. It's going to be great. If you want to go, there are still tickets, but they're going quick. Just go to tour.ballinstudios.com and get your tickets today. Okay, back to the stories.
Hi, ik ben Kim Buck, service owner. Ik werk via Calco bij PostNL. Bedenk dat soms dat.
So just looking at WNBA history, Candace Parker, only player in WNBA history to win MVP in her rookie season. Asia Wilson is currently the heavy MVP. Clark has jumped to a distant second in the odds makers playoffs since 2016. Won more than 13 games stretch since 2016. Only won 7 games total 2020-21 seasons. Right now they are 13-15 with 12 games remaining. Obviously,
Combo por la gamba se coisua.
in recent times, the
Antonio.
top 2 team was a, if I'm mistaken, to pass Asia Wilson in the MVP race?
Probably have to never not play more games.
No, fucking guy.
Playing out of her mind.
Yes. Players?
Ay.
There. Asia Wilson.
Even if
And she plays on the team.
Our super teams.
No, we didn't.
Yes, we did.
No.
They did. No, we did. Yes,
no, we did.
Chi botta i Boschedin?
Two super teams because they were the two best teams. This was before. Working all of them. This was.
And they were super. Pushed back that they were because they built their team through the draft.
Bullano alla...
Twice.
Sure, twice.
Oh, where she is. They won back-to-back champions.
Yeah.
Back-to-back. Girl is doing something different than what she's doing.
Incredibile suave.
That makes it easy for her to do her job with no pressure. And she can, right? And
Talking about.
if Kayla had pieces, it wouldn't be 7, it'd be number 3.
No, chi bassi, guy.
Pieces. Have you watched them play the last week?
Yeah, the last 3 games.
And they look like a completely different team.
She looks like a different player
They look like a completely different
because she did the work during All-Star break.
team.
Chi botta beso con ne, guy?
I need to fix what's going on. Like, now I'm going to chase that MVP. Ain't nobody.
Well, there's also, I would say there's.
Passa palla, Lolo.
I
They
would
have her
say,
too.
I don't know why though. I would say
This
Brianna.
is
Say Brianna Stewart and Fire are free right now.
Di con...
This what percentage? No, the problem is
Conversation for sure. She absolutely should be in the conversation.
that's all I want. With 8, averaging 27 and 12. Last year she too. But she's a big. She should have won it last year. She's a big.
She's at 27 and 12.
She
Okay.
has more of a responsibility.
Taylor Clark shooting 41% from the field, 33% from 3, 89%.
Right now, no. By the time the end of the season. Wait. The only reason y'all don't want it now is because so Candace Parker got it, right?
Candace Parker on a great team.
Got it, regardless.
No, the only thing that will benefit if, let's say there's 12 games left, they're third right now. Their team, they're seventh. They're seventh, and somehow they go, let's say, 10 and 2.
Yeah.
And she's averaging about 24 and something. They will be pushed as an MVP. She's 5-0 right now.
Lata! Ay!
500.
Last 5 games. But as I said, like,
No, bobote cono, guy. Sino?
Play well with Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston.
Yeah, but you know, too, what the media does. She don't have no pieces because trash last year. Yeah, that's how you.
Right,
You know what I mean?
well, that's,
And they did make.
they wasn't as trash as people like to act like.
Ay! Tarda troppo!
I think it's going back to back. Very impressive because it is very hard to win in the W. Has added to that team. They're out. All work. And Kelsey started the season.
Right.
So, you agree. Asia's
I know you.
It's her.
I know, so... Avevo nakita che gana... I know, man.
That's my
No
thing.
way.
That's my thing. I mean, just team.
Otro lolo, ten coño suanan.
Dominating like it was number 1 last year. She wasn't dominating last year.
Referee.
They didn't have Chelsea Gray.
Coño! Ay, 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 but that... tarda sua. Sei se butterfly do Marico.
But she's still balling, and Caitlyn's team is. The tide will shift, and they're gonna try to because of the team winning. But if everything just stays the way it is right now, if it stays the same, because for the sake of it, you say you're that, but I can tell you this
Coño. Ay, ay, ay.
better. I know she's going to
Jesus. Ay, hala. Ay, ela kapi.
If she has
Kita ku pressure ba na swanang.
animosity in your heart, you brought it up. We got to talk about that situation. The Caitlyn is Jean Grey out there. I can tell you this. He's an Omega level. Omega. I can tell you something right now is the fact that they have her second in MVP clearly says she's
Posso
gonna
botar
win.
tarda no.
Yeah, because media.
I don't think there's anything really.
Otro más. Ay, ay, ay.
But the fact that they have her heavy voting, it kind of just clearly shows you that there's the difference between 20 rebounds and then 19 assists.
But you got.
Oh man, because getting getting people. Both is hard. 20 rebounds and you're a rookie.
Referee.
That's hard.
That dude.
Coño.
Got another 7 here next to you. Have we seen that even?
Here at 23
Exactly, because you're getting all the boards. One rookie in the NBA got 20 rebounds in the game, or
Ay, ay, ay.
20 rounds is high.
Jack probably. He would be the only. But now think about it. Be the only one. Yeah. I mean, can't go back then because everybody's like, gotta be only.
Dreci.
MB had 20 rebounds in their game. Dwight Howard had a 20.
Hey, I'll go that way.
Wes Unseld back in the day.
Okay, so and Wimby. Yeah. So it's not an easy thing. So for her to get 20 rebounds and one thing, it's a skill thing. It's a skill thing. So you can't. Assist is a skill thing.
I'm still here for the.
Walker Kessler did it. Mark Wayne. Isaiah Stewart did it. Yeah, Pat did it.
If Angels a rookie here, and we white, black, we good. We go party at the backyard, but Rashad.
Ah, metti pra trás e corre min llegando. Ah, pues son kutinanta que te jode. Coño sua.
Not if we nope. Yes. They both rookies. I get this. Any rookie who wins MVP is rookie of the year.
Dreci pabo.
Like the NFL with the MVP.
Ah.
Yeah, you can have that. Now that sounds like it's have it. If it's a year.
Eh, bom cambiar, bom Antônio. Ai! Ai, que ódio! Vamos pular aqui, the guy! Ai, nossa, não.
Listen, Caitlyn Card.
Rashad, let's talk about mentioned previously situation that happened late in the game during the Fever win over the Storm.
Ow.
The video. Caitlyn Clark was pumping up the crowd, walking towards the Storm bench. Skylar Diggins-Smith beeline towards Clark. Gave her a little bump.
Oh,
and big deal. Just funny. Speed of that
Be what?
Olympic Walker giving it down.
Damn, they must have been whooping it.
They were pooping this game.
Get the fuck out of here.
Rashad, very active on Twitter recently. It really blessed my heart to see that as a Twitter official.
Oh, God.
In response to that video, you tweeted the following: that, man, Skylar I know you didn't speed up to bump into her like this. Laughing my ass off. This is nasty work. Diabolical LOL. Like CC. Ask you a question. Is Kayla C? Yeah, CC. She already did.
Oh, det.
Yeah. So Kayla Clark is in. Leaves us.
Here, guys.
No.
Next year, y'all better.
There wasn't a. Hold on. Oh, it's cheering. Cheering for you.
Udah koi may baka maswa.
Grandi ribacealant.
Brandon was giving motivational.
Uy. Siri. Ay, double no. No! Buti yung kita sudilante no, guy.
Indiana Fever, Caitlin. Caitlin, and Lexi. Yeah, because he was still talking shit about he was talking shit to the Indiana Fever.
Jesus, eh. No. Referee.
Yeah, it was Lexi. Lexi, Caitlin.
No, inang. Ay. Alasan ka, coño.
Getting targeted, or she just getting treated like a rookie?
Offenso. Meu amigo.
Ay!
La flag del marito proprio aqui.
Sowieso met zijn fluiten kon hij. Mira, vai. Ah!
Let this go. Let this narrative go, please.
Thank you. Like, is it a narrative? Have we just seen it? It's not a narrative.
Like, that's her. She
Yeah,
does
it was
it like
Kennedy
that.
too.
Also,
Yeah.
she is.
He was a hot new rookie.
You don't want us. You don't want people to be competitive.
No.
Like,
That's not
she would have. I
diabolical.
feel like she would have done that with any.
But that's not competitive. You don't add up though.
Any Fever player
But
wants.
we don't know. See, the problem.
we don't know.
The problem is this, and this is the problem.
Ten non sono idee.
Right? I don't think they know the cameras on.
Jesus say non, hey, bang serio guy nang. Bang hopi serio promising.
Cameras is watching one.
That's what I'm
Tama
saying.
lang. No, Alan.
When you try to,
Ay!
they're catching that shit. So you
Ay, no, guy na bastante busca de mente sneakies.
camera not on her.
Ay, sí, Boreno, man. Bye, Bore.
Is innocent.
Bye, Bore. Bonbon.
That you're doing it, they're gonna.
Mayang!
So you said to everyone, it don't matter. They're looking to see if you do it to her.
Yeah.
Because it would be dumb for you to do it to her. Right, dumb.
Even idea.
You know how like a lot of WNBA, a lot of
No.
all the
Yeah, she could do that.
when Kobe came in,
Reverse Rambation. Douche Swadang.
but yes, but everyone,
Bonoy!
all rookies get the same treatment. There's a few.
Netjes. Dat is één.
Like,
Ai, 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 deixa eu suar.
Dammi 2 secondi, vai, 2 secondi.
Cioè, figo.
He say we. But it's because the public has chose protect Wimby protect. It don't happen.
I
Right,
don't
so-
think that was ever going on in the league. I think it was just an environment for her, and now she's figured it out, and that's what she's Caitlyn.
No, it's not Caitlyn.
I
This ain't
feel
about.
like she's playing, but I don't think the way people are playing her has changed. I think she has gotten better as the season went on.
What to get better. No, I'm just talking, like even though like that hit.
You haven't even heard him talking about the oversexuality and stuff anymore. He's giving that shit back now. He's figured it out.
Yeah, but like she gets hit and she walks. She don't make it a big deal because she down, but they're still gonna
Okay, and
out.
it's just
And
annoying.
it's a public thing. Like
Yeah.
the public is picked. Like if someone trips Wimby right now, just randomly tripped him last year. Oh, that shit would have just like went passing. And it looks like they not passing the ball. Maybe they never had a dude that they could make those passes to, so they don't even know. But we can see. Oh shit, you looking him off. The public chose.
Yeah.
So they're gonna look for every little thing.
But when you do things like that, obviously it's hard to defend.
But let's not act like Caitlin's not out there game as well. Okay. Let me say this. Like she
Every team had this. Miles out of you. That nigga, like Caitlyn is doing out, feed into it and put dent in the game.
same thing like Caitlyn.
Same thing.
Yeah.
That gave that shit off. Like she could have turned around in my house.
I think. Oh,
Thank you for that little gave me. That ass onto the
Ma che lei usa qua.
Kokkie, dat moet je toevallig, hè?
Io?
I know. Mit der Base war dem feed die Instagram aqui. Ah, da bit da Kokkie.
That's all it is. Even if they all cool, she could be cool with a lot of people.
Nice, come.
Impossível, não.
It's just
Também de telefoon gewoon in gesprek afhouden.
Ik weet nog wat.
Impossível.
you're used to it. It's just certain people you can't do it to. And I believe
So even though you are limits though.
even though you're trying to
Cambia mentalidad, boys. Suona kita inglês.
Zie van staatsloterij. Over naartoe. Loterij.nl.
Ehi, invece dovrei guardare il Tiago che devi. C'è lo guardi, ti faccio vedere anche io, adesso mi piace il sito, quelli mi vedevo.
Scottie Pippen Jr. in the G League, but some like Michael Thompson, the #1 pick in 1978,
No,
NBA son. You guys know I love to count when I'm not watching the NBA, but I don't have a 100% record smelling great between showers. Well, Mando is the sponsor of today's
Vedete
video,
come
and they
provo
have changed my
Até mi trovo
Mando
quello
was
vedere,
by a doctor
no.
who saw and how normal
Exit match table.
Vai.
Give me the answer.
Jasko.
Yes? Okay.
Zo.
belly buttons, butt cracks,
Ja,
sticky
moet
crevices,
afnemen,
stomach
oorlogjes.
folds, and feet clinically proven to
Wat zit er best nog, hè?
better than a shower was
Die
like
deed
12
het
hours after a shower.
Voilà.
Was a 5 out of 10. With Mando,
Oh,
the
no,
average
bad.
odor down there, 0 out of 10. Choose from 4 different scents that are all unique. Bourbon leather, clover woods, Mount Fuji, and Pro Sport. They even have unscented. Now, I love the Bourbon Solid Stick, Pro Sport 4-in-1 bar, and my Mount Fuji body wash. They smell great, and they work better than that old brand I used to use. It doesn't stain my clothes, which is... It is skin safe, which is perfect. So get the starter pack just like me. I stick deodorant, an acidified cleansing bar, and 2 free like the wipes or the mini body wash. And just for AM Foods viewers, Mando is offering an extra $5 off Go to bit.ly/mando-amhoops and use code AMHoops. That is over 40% off. Code AMHoops or link is Cayenne Anthony, son of Carmelo. Cayenne is 6'5", 180 pounds, a shooting guard, 4-star prospect, ranked 33rd in the class of 2025. Cayenne's a really good shooter who can handle the ball. This clip of him playing one-on-one with his dad shows Cayenne's insane range. A mid-range shooter in the NBA, but most of these players' kids have better range than their dad. Why? We all know. Everyone grew up watching Steph. Here is little Cayenne sitting next to Steph and his dad, then watching Steph with his dad at the Olympics. Now, when Carmelo was Cayenne's age, he was much more advanced, the number 2 ranked prospect in 2002. At the time, a 6'7", 200-pound guy for Syracuse, winning the national title, but he could have gone straight to the NBA. That's how good Melo was. Picked 3rd in the 03 draft, but right now, Cayenne's projected a late first rounder in 2027. I'd say Cayenne is a dad was a star, but the next son would dominate his dad as a teenager. No! He's 3rd in the 03 draft, but right now, Cayenne's projected as a late first rounder in 2027. I'd say Cayenne.
No.
Syracuse winning the national title, but he could have gone straight to the NBA. Melo was picked 3rd in the 03 draft, but right now, Cayenne's projected as a late first 2027. I'd say
No, arriba, no.
dominate his dad as
Coi coño, che gana che no.
is a 6'5", 188-pound guard, ranked number 4 in the nation.
Referee.
Athletic dunks, averaged 33 points, number 4 in the nation.
Macho, che fatta Santo?
3 points, 8 assists in high school. Number was a
Ay, Bang Swanang. Ay.
Out of summer camp and impressed MJ, scoring 8 times in his first 8 possessions.
Go.
Is even better than that.
Wat een toernooi gewoon. Number
3 pick in 2027. I know that's a long way off, but he'll outdo his dad second rounder. Next, Bryce J, a 6'4", 190-pound guard. How does he compare?
Combo to do Nepali swa.
Who is? There's been a narrative that Bryce is the superior prospect. So let's compare. At this ranked number 43 in the nation. 5-star prospect. 20 out offers from Kentucky, Ohio State, Michigan. USC. Bryce is ranked 101st in the class of 2025.
What exactly does it mean to be a role player in today's NBA? If you're a front office executive for an NBA team, an even more important question is, what is a role player worth? In an era where NBA players are making more money than ever before, where new TV deals pave the way for salary cap.
Impossible, guy.
181st in the class of 2025. Bryce played for Kennedy. No idea why people think that Bryce is better than Bronny. At this point, it's no. Probably because Bryce is 2 inches taller, which fools the game. But Bryce didn't compare to LeBron, obviously. The Sun made a story on it. Andre made a huge jump from his junior to senior year in high school. Prospect shot to 19th class of 2023, just like his dad. But it'll be hard to match Pops. Underrated players in recent history. Andre.
Nothing. In society, most athletes make a lot of money. 7 figures times.
Dilanti guy. Buswa. Mira aquí.
I can't speak for
Richie Pablo guy.
But way behind Bronny at point. Bryce played JV as a freshman, comes off the bench at Sierra Canyon. I have no idea why people think that Bryce is better than Bronny. At this point, it's no contest. Probably because Bryce is 2 inches taller, which fools people in a picture. He has a smoother game, but Bryce doesn't compare to LeBron, obviously, and at this point, not even Bronny. But the son, maybe most like his dad, is Andrei Stojakovic, son of Peja Stojakovic. Andre made a huge jump from his junior to senior year in high school. Prospect shot to 19th in the class of 2023. Just like his dad, kid's got a smooth shooting stroke. Can shoot spot up or off the dribble, but it'll be hard to match Pops. Peja is one of the most underrated players in recent history. In 03-04, he scored 24 points with 6 boards a game, finished 4th in MVP voting, got a vote for first. Andre should be in the league by now, but he went to Stanford and struggled off the bench. Scored just 8 points and 3 boards a game. So in back to
He's on
college,
fire. Let's go.
but college still believed in his talent. Had offers from Kentucky, Michigan, and MJ School UNC. He chose Berkeley and will be in the draft next year. But the next 3 prospects are the 3 best NBA Suns we will see. First, Dylan Harper, son of 5-time NBA champ Ron Harper. Some NBA front offices have him ranked ahead of Cooper Flagg in next year's draft. A 6'5", 229-pound
Corre, no, guy. Ay, no.
Dylan's the number 3 prospect in 2025, projected number 2 NBA
Coño,
draft.
sua.
His dad, Ron, was a late bloomer in high school, going unranked. He ended up playing 4 years in college to become the number 8 pick in the 1980s.
Passa refi.
He had a 15-year career winning titles with both Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. Ron was a good shooter, just like his son. But Dylan is also a really good defender, handles the ball, and led his school to a national championship, a 19-game win streak, averaged 32 points and 9 boards the final 2 rounds. Dad might have more rings, but the kid is a beast.
No.
Just like Taj Ariza, a 6'8", 180-pound forward. His dad, Trevor, was an elite role player for 18 seasons in the NBA. But even as a teenager, Dad was great. A very good shooter and defender, ranked number 18th, but Taj is better. The son is ranked number 6 in the class of 2026. He fell in love with basketball the day his dad won a championship with Kobe in 2009. He is a very good shooter, defender, can make plays for others and himself. Currently projected as the number 8 pick in the 2027 draft, but even better is Cam Boozer, son of Carlos Boozer. Cam is 6'9", 235 pounds, a small forward. His dad was amazing for the Jazz. People outside of Utah remember that he put shoe polish on his head to try to cover his bald head. Really, he was a double-double machine, becoming an NBA All-Star.
Ay, no, bota do Neco e Trube.
The number 2 ranked player in 2025. Projected number 2 pick in 2026. National Player of the Year. But listen to this. Kid's got a 4.8 GPA in school. I didn't even know that was possible. He plays the cello in a community orchestra. Volunteers as a church youth leader. And saved his brother's life. Carlos had his first son, Carmani, in 2006, but the baby had sickle cell disease, which could kill him. The only cure was a stem cell transplant, but neither parent was a match. So they decided to have another kid who could donate the cells. So they chose 2 embryos through IVF, who became Cameron and Caden Boozer. The kids saved Carmani's life, and when they grew up, gained national attention at just 14 years old. But Cam grew to 6 freshmen. They dominated in high school, winning 3 straight titles. Cam hitting the game-winning shot. This is the list of all the NBA Suns who have a shot at the league, either highly ranked or notable. This includes 15 top 75 prospects: Dante Allen, Keon Anthony, Elijah Arenas, Taj Ariza, Brandon Bass Jr., Cam Boozer, Dylan Harper, Kate.
Wij bestaan er ruim 30% aan het projecten dankzij Exact Online. Echt een uitkomst om meer grip op onze projecten te krijgen.
Macho. Konj mi mama sua.
De BKR-registratie. Dat is natuurlijk erg.
And it's maybe third all time. And has one of the most popular in the world. The way his name Marcus Nike
What the
in 2012
Ay no, pase bala no.
Lee Nick. What is all that? And don't worry,
Botei.
off my rocker. There are only 4 NBA players in history with life shootings. It's a list so extraordinary who helped make Under Armour a billion-dollar business. Doesn't have James, Kevin Durant, and now
Ei, Dingo, que era pra ser assim.
we're signed with Nike, but Nike lost out on the process. So we're gonna go through a timeline on how Nike messed up to now how Wales is popular one in the
Kato pa sa bayan ng piso sa talk
Incrível, sua.
Understand why Nike. Let's just say maybe pay attention to the hard worker.
Ai!
This is the one big thing for the week. It's weights.
Ah! Grandi ribanang. Saan salinan turno ma?
No.
I'm like, here we go. This is my time. I'm about to go to night. I've been hearing about him my whole life. Like, I can visually go right back to and came up and he told me I didn't get invited to crush me because I asked 7 other dudes. They got invited from my team. Just that moment right there.
No!
Like I started feeling good about myself.
Boom! Bolot! Alif, hamburrap. Skap. Uy.
In his club.
No hinang. Yay! So... Shit. No! Incapia, coño. Dilanti, no. 13 pavo. Ai, ai, ai. Nami.
Okay, that's a choice.
Alan, sige koriswa. Coño, man.
Up on him too. Just wait to see.
Botou talaga ang slice, botou lante, toca. Incrível. Encapia, só não! Ah! Basta com o prato. Dušisa! Basta com o prato, Haaland. Tu me bala com una, Haaland, vai gas.
They really woke up that.
Okay. Epa, veel to join the troop aqui.
Face of Converse, Nike brands.
Finals, yeah.
In 2024, playoff games, he's faced 20 opponent stands above all else, the Boston Celtics. We didn't give LeBron and we didn't. LeBron played the Celtics in 41 playoff games over 7 different series, and some of his most legendary moments happened in the TD Garden. Losses, game winners, and 40 triple doubles. This is the complete history of LeBron versus the Celtics. NBA in 2003.
Vou só tudo só para coração ito.
Missed the playoffs in James's first 2 seasons. The
Ai.
Round playoff exits, but despite not clashing in the playoffs, Pierce and LeBron immediately distaste for each other. Pierce was considered a premier small forward in the Eastern Conference, and he saw young LeBron as a threat. Disliking all that he'll have to go through him if he dreams of doing something in the East. And after LeBron scored just 10 points, 19 in his first game against Pierce in Boston, LeBron 37 when the Celtics came.
Tiago, basta que dá paragay.
One of his own, spiced up with some trash talking towards Carter, Maverick Carter's dad, and someone who James considers an uncle. Tell him to be quiet. Said to LeBron during the 2004 preseason campaign, Pierce and James nearly had a fight in the locker room after they clashed on the court.
Both teams were beating in the bag. Guys was ready to fight. We had to hold people back like it went up from there.
And they continued to play extremely tough against each other on every occasion. In 2006, Pierce scored 50 on LeBron in a double overtime game, becoming the first Celtic since Larry Bird to score a half a century, though James had 43 and took over. Then, finally, in 2008, we got the long playoff matchup between LeBron and Big Three. It was a hard-nosed, old-school, a lot of hard fouls and limited scoring. After both teams defended their home court in the first 4 contests, no player scored more than 28 points in a game. LeBron exploded with 35 in a pivotal Game 5. Now, as Pierce scored 29 in Boston. Then James 47 with a brilliant 32 points and downs, and it was a prelude.
Bang!
7 in Boston. Pierce and LeBron. James finished with 5 points, scoring but Pierce countered 41 his own, and the Celtics escaped with a victory that would later end up with a championship. In 2010, the Celtics and the Cavs met in the Eastern Semis again, and this time, Coach Doc Rivers didn't want LeBron to pull defenders. Pierce only averaged 13 points to LeBron's 7. Celtics and their big three were just too strong for James's supporting cast. In the deciding Game 6, despite a monstrous 27-19-10 James
Macho! Bugay.
playoffs again. And the sight of a disappointed LeBron taking off his jersey as he exited the arena was a sign of what was coming next. The answer to the question everybody wants to know.
Ay, no, Land.
First playoff series as a member of the Heat, the basketball gods took LeBron once again. But this time, with Wade and Bosh by his side, the King finally had the help he needed, and the Heat stomped. Like LeBron had finally solved the Celtics puzzle forever, and that Pierce, Garnett, and Allen would never bother him in the playoffs again. However, after he lost the 2011 finals to Dallas in the very next season, LeBron brink of another disappointing playoff loss to the Celtics.
No, no tapabo, guy.
Series lead fueled by
Con
Pierce's
Corea, Land.
over LeBron that decided Game 5. The naysayers, led by Skip Bayless, had already written off LeBron, saying that he's missing the killers and that he never
Ay, ay, ay.
bring into the abyss of another embarrassing playoff loss to his biggest nemesis. The best performance. Time ever, LeBron was not looking to pass the ball. Instead, he kept hitting shot after shot, canceling the Celtics with 35 points, 5 assists as he single-handedly on the floor. But done yet, because he followed it up with 31 points and 12 rebounds in Game 7 and closed out the series. LeBron finally shut up all the critics, with the final nail in the coffin of the Celtics. 2 NBA titles.
No.
Later, James returned home to fulfill his dream of bringing a championship. First season back,
Golfis na kiswa.
flash against his this time around. The Celtics had no real championship aspirations and were lucky just to make the playoffs.
Isso sei. Botei configurashi. Promiałem to stakiam.
Games. However, thanks to the trade fiasco of Billy King and the Nets, the Celtics were able to draft Jaylen Brown in 2016. Later, despite the departure of their big four, Boston was quickly in contention again, led by all-star
Ikapia, guy, no.
Gearing up to challenge. Just like everybody predicted, Boston and Cleveland met in the conference finals, and this time the Celtics proved
Ay, ay, ay.
favor of the Cavs, and the Boston crowd believed their young team could. And however, James, Kyrie, and Love killed those hopes with wins and another trip to the finals against Golden State. In 2018, Boston and Cleveland made a blockbuster trade that sent Kyrie Irving to the Celtics and Isaiah Thomas.
Bom. Sim, bom. Era ser bom.
Matchmakers put the Celtics and the Cavs to play in the season opener game that will never be remembered for the final score, but for the brutal injury of Gordon Hayward. After Hayward was ruled out for the season, the Celtics' title hopes dropped significantly. And then, in April, another disaster. Celtics, Dr. Irving have decided here that his season is over after a bacterial infection.
I know, guy, I know.
Celtics team found their 2 best players. Still, they finished second in the conference, and their young stars, Tatum and Brown, for everybody. Boston defeated the Bucks and the Sixers to secure another conference finals matchup against LeBron. And because the Cavs looked worse than ever during James's tenure, the Celtics had a real chance to finally dethrone the King. After the first 2 games, defeating James and his mediocre supporting cast by a combined 38 points. Then the Cavs responded with a... And in Game 4, Ron turned on the turbo and delivered another performance, finishing with 40 points in a big... However, Boston took Game 5, which meant the Cavs needed 2 consecutive victories. And in Game 6, the King delivered big time in a performance that was reminiscent of Game 6. This time, he finished with 46 points, 11 rebounds, and 9 assists. Held Cleveland to victory. Game 7, but this way, the were hopeful to advance because they played Game 7 at home, where they 3 games in the series. Before the game decided he would not miss a single second, and he stayed playing the full. Coach Lou used timeouts primarily to rest his only star, as the others continued to struggle against a stingy Celtics defense. And if there was any game that showed the true genius of LeBron, his masterful control.
Yo, te suabano, guy, nang.
In a low-scoring game in which neither team reached 90 points, LeBron finished with 35 points, 15 rebounds, and 9 assists, which means he's directly responsible for over 6% of all Celtics coach Brad Stevens said the plan was to wear James out. Our goal was to make him exert as much energy possible. You know, for the most part, I thought we were pretty good at that, but LeBron led the Cavs to an impromptu victory on the road and his 8th consecutive trip to the NBA Finals, improving his playoff record against the Celtics to 5-2. Overall, against his most frequent opponent, he has a 25-16 record in the postseason, averages of 29, 6 points, 8.5 rebounds, and 6.3 assists. Out of the 29 career playoff games in which he scored 40-plus points, 5 Celtics, 4 happened in TD Garden. If Reggie Miller was dubbed the Knicks killer, then LeBron can be the Celtics killer. That it's his favorite city to play in. And who knows, if the Celtics and the Lakers make the 2025 finals, maybe we're
No.
and the Celtics killer. If you like this video, subscribe to Nonstop and watch some more great basketball content.
Non so se calma l'acqua che lo trovi.
Time remaining. Rose.
Kung base koi.
I don't know ever been a player that
Earliest year.
Di Kung.
Big things from LeBron.
his senior high school.
Coño, mi mama.
Eating expectations. Celebrity status. A 4-time league MVP and a 4-time champion. His career has spanned decades.
Para. Adiós, the guy. Yes. Tarada. ¿Qué? Epa.
Isso?
The city of steel and struggle.
Projects that was at the bottom of the hill.
Coño, mi mamá, suave.
Non vai dentro.
The world of football changed immeasurably since the beginning of the 2000s. France had the best team in the world. There were serious concerns surrounding clubs overspending, with potentially disastrous consequences. FIFA was a corrupt Swiss shyster who cozied up to dictators. Alright. I suppose not everything has changed. Some things have, though. Back in 2000, there was no VAR, no social media, and no Liverpool Manchester which plummeted in value by 97% in just 12 months. In some ways, they were happier times. But there was also no HIT. And also, overall...
Ay, no tapa a bola.
So, it has just totally organically cropped up in conversation. Is on the verge of hitting 600,000 subscribers.
Oh, dear.
having uploaded anything.
Deve flash hecho.
The plan is to hit
Não dá pra culo,
thousands
Não foi pra dentro da polícia.
Ai, Romana, chi fatta nosa do?
and have lots planned in terms of entries.
Dai, doel saldo goed toer. Die plus 2 bij min 2, oké. Ja,
Every time we enter a new era of
Mas
basketball,
kami, porque.
players get
Não faz de tonto aqui, não. Vai pra lança aqui.
As we enter this new era, they will be forgotten. Then there's players who get forgotten about constantly. Players too. A career role player.
Nota P, ai.
Greg Monroe's. I thought, what actually even happened to these guys? Why aren't they in the league anymore?
Incredible toch?
Some were just in the league. So, where are they? What I did is I made a list of some of those 2010 stars you never hear anyone talk about anymore. Then I went one by one, finding out what actually happened to them.
Jesus!
I think there's no better player to start off with than Monte Ellis.
Che passa? È tonti mami.
Guys who just get forgotten about, Monte Ellis is the first guy that comes to my mind. If there's one word to describe this guy, fuck it. Really, it was one of the players I could ever remember watching. Crazy, because he was such a late pick in the draft. The Warriors took him 40. Crazy to think his athlete. Anyways. He helped the Warriors make the playoffs for the first time in 12 years. He was part of that historic Warriors team when they eliminated the 1 seed Mavs as the 8 seed. He averaged over 20 points per game while shooting over 53% from the field the next season. Then over 25 points a couple seasons later. I mean, fuck it. Ended efficient one too. Times he was efficient. You guys know I think Monte Ellis led the NBA in minutes per game back-to-back seasons, averaging over 41 a night. But then after that, Curry.
Okay.
Curry, of course. Ellis was traded to the Bucks. Played a few seasons there too. Then he left. He signed with Dallas. Played pretty solid next to Dirk. But then he leaves there, signs with the Pacers, and his 2 seasons there, his career basically just fell apart. With a mix of injuries and age, he just wasn't the player he used to be. Alright, think about this. 2015, Monte Ellis signs a 4-year, $44 million contract with the Pacers. On July 6th, Ellis was paid by the Pacers through the 21-22 season. Yeah, they were paying that guy for May in 2024, Monte Ellis is only 38 years old. But at just 31 years old, he was averaging 27 minutes per game and only 8.5 points. And only 44% from the field. And he wasn't an elite. And plus, he also says this sniper, he only has a career 31% from deep. So yeah, dominant in the inside. That Ellis isn't here anymore. Yeah, it's unfortunate the game changes. Some of these guys, where they were able to dominate in 2015, NBA is just not the same in 2024. Yeah, when Ellis played, dominant offensively. Dominant defensive, All Marion. The prettiest jump shot of all time.
Sige ka na para Alant. Konyo guy.
How did that jumper go in? All Marion, Draymond before Draymond. Started every single position on the floor. Unlike Monte Ellis, All Marion was a really high draft pick.
Oh, this swat.
Ellis, his sophomore season,
nice one.
An NBA All-Star, that was in 03. The next season, he averaged 21 points and 9.5 rebounds.
Ban serio, ref.
10 rebounds a night. And then a couple seasons later, he had back-to-back seasons where he averaged 11 rebounds. And he made back-to-back All-NBA team. He had a 30-point, 20-rebound game. Defensive monster. He also had a season where he finished 4th in Defensive Player of the Year voting. Marion. Then, the Suns wanted that guy Shaquille O'Neal from the Miami Heat. Marion, we're shipping your ass out of here. Crazy. Even though they were traded for each other, somehow, they played on the same team for one game that season. Read this. 2008, the Heat had to replay the last 50 seconds of the game because the Hawks scorekeeper gave Shaq a 6th foul when he only had 5, and he was forced to sit. Curry let them replay the last few seconds, but Shaq was traded for Shawn Marion in February. The replay was in March before a regularly scheduled Hawks Heat game.
No.
Marion was night, and Shaq's name was also on the active list, even though he was with Phoenix. Marion and Shaq were traded for each other. They were technically on the same team for one. Yeah. So in a sense, Shawn Marion was Shaq, but Shawn Marion was also Shaq's teammate. But Shawn Marion was also traded for Shaq. I don't know. The Shawn Marion paradox. But anyways, Marion would get traded to Toronto. Weird, honestly, because I can't
No.
picture at all.
Ay, no, Roman.
Won a chip there, signed with the Cavs a few years
En dat
later.
flex, kon je mama boom.
Te equipo que me fleta todo.
O Messi come tu piace tu vai per lo tenere lo spostato se lo votanci umano. Se lo votanci umano, no vale.
College Hall of Fame. Shawn Marion.
Yeah, ma ne manico. Spend small.
Let's fill in the first half of the lineup and get a point guard in there.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Ay, no. Hincapilla pa' mí.
Bledsoe went right between Marion and Ellis. Actually drafted by OKC, but immediately traded to the Clippers.
No.
Because a couple years after getting him, the Clippers got CP3, so those minutes, it went way down. But he was in the dunk contest.
No dilantito. Bang.
Nasty. Eventually, Bledsoe would get traded to the Phoenix Suns, where he spent a lot of his career. But the problem, it was injuries.
Bom.
Another season-ending injury.
Okay.
Shut down for the
Quel
season.
momento mo kaya.
Then,
Quel spirito bang.
Of all time. I don't want to be here.
Kibra ng spirito kong.
Then they dip his ass out.
Palaga.
Which he hyped as hell about.
Ko pase, no.
Had a season where he made the whole defensive team, but then just injuries.
Boom!
Then the Grizzlies for 9 days in the summer. Grizzlies, you know what to do. Retire the number 2. Then he gets traded back to the Clippers. Then the Blazers. Then he got waived in 2022. Now he's on the Shanghai Sharks.
Machu.
34 years old. And assist.
No,
la.
No, swa.
You know, some got muscles for no reason.
Referee.
Great. But I want to back a little further this time. Actually, not that far back. A guy that would dunk on everyone. Legend. Drafted in 04, Josh Smith's a lockdown your favorite player. He was the youngest player in NBA history to reach 500 career blocks, and the youngest for 1,000 blocks.
Ante nota flight.
Satu berhasil. Just.
Record. But there's some dudes probably in the next couple months. But Josh Smith eventually make the all-defensive team.
No, swa. Atay!
Appearances. Eventually signed with the Pistons, and he got cut because he was inconsistent. The Rockets would end up picking him up.
Machu, bang que pasan pa mí.
Contract with the Clippers. Traded right back to the Rockets. Then he went to China the next season. Back to the NBA. Pelicans in 2019. For Josh Smith, it was always really, not really a shooter.
Coño!
Locking him down. Really wasn't doing as much as you needed. Of course, your athleticism goes down with time, and that's really what happened with Josh Smith.
Ay, ten coño.
I'm coaching at the top 50 camp in Atlanta, so shout out Coach Josh. While we're on the topic of one Atlanta Hawk, let's go to another. Kyle Korver. In the legendary 03 draft, first action.
This sucks.
Traded for a printer on that night. And yes, I'm being serious. Traded for cash, which the Nets bought a copy machine with. Crazy. But Korver was nasty, and right away in his career, one of the first seasons he's made. 26.
Paano?
Leads the NBA free throw percentage. Eventually, the Sixers shipped Korver to Utah, this time for a refrigerator.
Treci, Pavo. Ate.
Set an NBA record. Highest
Referenza Devi.
Referee? Che medaglia Trompe ka gaan? Kan ik daar niet? Trompe ka niet met vlees. Wie is die vlees? Trompe ka dama kala tuba. Let's go.
Then he led the
Ai, vergonha, velho. Ah.
3-point percentage again. Oh yeah. And he got named an All-Star for the first time at 33 years old. And he was a major part of that 60-win Hawks team. Yeah, I need to do a video on that team. Korver would eventually become the Hawks' all-time 3-point percentage leader. And then he got traded to the Cavs. There, he became the 4th player ever to make 2,000 career threes at the time. He got sent back to Utah, and then he signed with the Bucks. There, that's where he played his final game. A couple years later, Korver would end up as an assistant coach on the Nets, and in 2022, assistant GM of the Hawks. And a couple months ago, he told DeJounte Murray to get packing.
I know.
Korver is one of the best shooters the league has ever seen. He's a player that can catch fire like no other.
Ah, chiudi. Hermanang. Hey!
Yeah, Korver was a bucket, but as most of these guys I named so far are still in their 30s, Korver is 43. So for him, it was more just an age factor. Also, his last 2 seasons wasn't the same player as his previous.
Dikong.
Guys too.
Ay, shit.
Best players ever, Darren Williams. Definition of a forgotten superstar. High pick, 3rd overall. Also right away.
Fallo Kansas on the base con eso.
Averaging 16 and 9, and led the Jazz to the Western Conference Finals. Next season, even better, 19 and 10 and a half. And a few years later, an NBA All-Star. He went on to become the first player in NBA history to record at least 20 points in 5 straight playoff games. Then eventually, the Jazz would trade him to the New Jersey Nets. There, but he was still dropping dimes. The NBA went into lockout, so we played in Turkey for a short period of time. The game where he dropped 50, got his jersey retired, then came right back to the Nets when the nominated for the Nets also. A 7-point game, 11 threes in another. During all this, he was really playing through injury. And then eventually he would go on out with the Mavs in 2015. Then the Cavs after he got the Mavs. Then Darren Williams.
Wow, we capilla sua.
Injuries were just so unfortunate for this dude. But I can't forget.
Mira aquí, I know. Ay, no, sua.
Okay, so everyone we talked about so far has either been a point guard or a wing. Let's talk about a big. How about Zach Randolph? One of the fun players of the last decade. Randolph was drafted by the Blazers. He dealt with some off-court issues in his first couple seasons. Then a few seasons later, Zach Randolph, the most improved player. A few seasons later, he averaged 23.6 points and 10.1 rebounds for the Blazers. But then he was traded to the New York Knicks. There, he was still really good, but they would end up trading him to the Clippers.
Jeffrey.
Suspended for punching Lou Almondson.
Korjallaan.
Random ass moment in NBA history. Eventually get traded to the Grizzlies. First, the best and most important stop of his career.
Ah, chiudi.
Games as part of some dope playoff runs. The Grizzlies' all-time leader in field goals made. Eventually, let him walk and he signed with the Kings. Kings wanted to go young, but they traded Randolph to the Mavs. Mavs, they waived him.
Ay, fuck.
Now, why is Randolph not in the NBA?
Not 100% sure, because he still efficient the last time he played for the Kings. So maybe there was no option that he loved, did a career for himself. That's definitely possible. But Zach Randolph would end up getting if he retired for the Memphis Grizzlies. Then you love to see. Like I said, Zach Randolph won Most Improved Player back in the day. Let's talk about another MIP winner, Goran Dragic. Yeah. Like many of these guys so far, Dragic was a really late draft pick. Early on, they saw him as a potential successor to Steve Nash, and then he should be legit in basketball. For 23 points in the fourth playoff game to victory. To the Rockets, just a backup there. He didn't really do much, but then Nash left the Suns, and they signed the guy right back. And later, the NBA's most improved player. And eventually, he got traded to the Heat. The immediate impact there, got a crazy bag, made an all-star game, and he became the first Slovenian player to reach the 10,000 point mark. But he dealt with just so many injuries. I mean, he played 3 games in the bubble finals. The outcome could have been different if he was healthy. But after that, he bounced from team to team, like 40 teams in a 2-year span. 37 years old, Goran Dragic announces his retirement from the game of basketball. Nowadays, he still works in basketball. Sometimes, if Goran Dragic basketball can't basketball in 2020.
Ay, den coño mi mamá, vega.
Basketball. Not just about football. It's a combination of sports, basketball, prospect, getting to know each other, and many happiness. Got Goran. But now, let's move on.
Bang. Yeah, boom.
Thomas. First, you all know Icy was the last draft. Right away,
no, bode, full bode.
And Isaiah Thomas.
Atrove bode. Ay. Boom.
IT was still really good. He had a season where he was the runner-up man of the year. And then eventually, he got traded to the Celtics. Where, per game.
Fuck.
Regular season. Ahead of Steph Curry and Giannis. Traded to the Cavs for Kyrie to go play with LeBron. The whole time. And that hit would continue to bother him for the rest of his career. After that, he played for a little. And for the Nuggets, played for the Wizards for a little. Recently, he got a 10-day with the Suns last season, actually. Nothing really happened there. And right now, IT is a free agent. Guys on this list, down to injuries. Now, I don't know if anyone's going to sign Isaiah Thomas for the upcoming season. But even if no one does, IT is a recent player on this list. I just wanted to include him because everyone loved Isaiah Thomas. And really, his game was so exciting to watch. For Isaiah Thomas, another player had a really fun game to watch. Wow. This player, Joe Johnson.
Must win those games.
Started off his career with the Celtics, actually.
Win.
Then he was traded to the Suns pretty soon after. Instantly, he became for that. He averaged 14 points. Shot 40% from deep. And after 3 years with the Suns.
Must win. Ay. Okay. Set.
The NBA's drama is far from over. Boston Celtics, Denver Nuggets, and the Golden State Warriors have recently seen their stars enjoy championship victories. Think about Jason Tatum, Nikola Jokic, and Stephen Curry. Their sagas are complete, their rings shining brightly. Yet, behind this spotlight, endless compelling stories remain untold. James Harden, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, Damian Lillard, and other NBA legends are all powerhouses of epic performances on basketball's grandest stage. These are the narratives of greatness left unfinished, with future Hall of Famers still in pursuit of that elusive championship ring. Rise above. Ring occurs first, and why haven't some of these legendary Go over all that in this video. But before we get into it, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And thank you for watching one of the best new basketball channels, Fish Archives. When it comes to the NBA, the championship ring isn't just a symbol of success. It's the dream of every player, the pin of their career, and often the key factor in defining their reputation. Rings often serve as a tiebreaker in every GOAT debate. Players like Bill
keeper.
Five are not only remembered for their skill.
Fucking esta vaina, no.
Celebrating with champagne after achieving the game's number. Praise close no cigar. Shows the reality of certain NBA. Their impressive careers and relentless drive. There remains first on this list, James Harden, a name that outrings, despite being the 20 MVP, a 10-time and a 6-time.
¿Conoce la voz?
It's one of the league's all-time greats.
¿Pero qué entendiendo?
Expectations.
Gaki tingo figurashi sua.
160. He's been marked opportunities. Harden's closest shot at a title came early as a key six. Harden, alongside Kevin Durant, reached the NBA Finals in 2020.
Está bom.
Following a trade, Harden emerged franchise player.
Yeah!
Led the Rockets to the Western.
They're free.
By the Golden State Warriors, setting the stage for their dynasty. Arguably, all the Rockets both best record in the NBA.
Nou, kom, we zijn amper schapen.
Rockets took a 3 lead, but an untimely hamstring. Rockets lost the final 2 games of the series, with Game 7 featuring a historic.
No Augusta e cose nenhum tiki.
Followed Harden and the Rockets.
Hey, vos são dois para o nono. Keepra. Ai, bate o back, bate o neck. Hey. Fuck!
Tanto sei lá como se vai dormir, amor.
However, injuries plagued Harden's efforts to play through it. By the Milwaukee 7-game series finals. Harden's injury limited effectiveness, and the championship aspirations were dashed.
Nós não tem sonho. Hat-trick cai dentro trampar aqui, bang.
As the team and the
Kita. I know, man.
Now finds himself in the Lakers alongside Kawhi Leonard in 2024 playoff. Mavericks in the round in another postseason by a Leonard injury. Harden's quest for an NBA title with the Clippers holds amidst the conference. Powerhouse team.
No, Alan va a correr obes.
Will encounter an exceptional challenge. With that, Harden a 5 out of 10 rating.
Hincapia. Ay, ay, ay.
It's impossible not to think of Chris Paul. Harden on your NBA player. Creative clutch despite his unfortunate. He's made the.
Trece, Pablo. Ah, vou botar tarde. Ai, tem conho.
Yes. 2006 rookie. However, the Hornets
Suporta kita perainan.
2007 AFC reaching the second round. Spurs in 7 games.
No!
Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan. High expectations and play team. In 2015, finals. Opportunity that remains a low point. Trade to the Houston Rockets. And like I'm in Houston.
Bungan tading to halaka na pading swa. Talit body.
Debut season with the team. First time in his career off against the Johnny attempted the championship. Enough to end his champion route, seeking a title. Pedigree. 39. Time is running out on his career. To the San Antonio Spurs, while exciting, the presence of rising Wembanyama is considered a setback in his pursuit of first championship.
No, diretso babo. Seswa.
5 years. Chip in his career. Russell.
Ay, ating coño.
Chip run.
Tenang, nós não arriba um evo aqui. Kersa, tá dormimento tem. Nada arriba um evo sim.
That rings.
Quando assim não seguro mais. Sim.
James Harden. Achieved several.
Bangay na bang.
Closest to winning an title in 2012. Finals with Grant Westbrook. Spurs in 2014 and a heartbreaking defeat. Painful, marking the end of an era with
Coño, guys.
After Durant's departure, Westbrook stepped up, becoming the league's MVP. However, his success didn't translate into Westbrook's career challenges as he that elusive champion. Tenure with the Houston Rockets by James Harden in the 2019
Ay, tengo esta que la conecto torsua.
second round against the Los in Washington.
Cioè, che da faranno, ma?
Westbrook found himself for both the Lakers instability. Notch, the team part of having to make a
Bom.
possibly his capture in a loose. That's why Westbrook had a chance of winning it. I mean, it's really hard to doubt the Joker at this.
Toch! Oh, dude.
I've already got my wallet. All right. Oh, by the way, can I see your phone?
Bang, swa.
I just downloaded a brand new slots game.
Basta. Fica bravo, vai acabar assim, resta. Vai dormir, cara. Ang tadrumi ka, baka na
Pasa
ko
e balik kunyi.
Damian Lillard find himself in the same a phenomenal championship.
Tadrumi ka ba? Ribong we puta kita ko ng.
Unforgettable performance.
Let's go.
Earning in the times his shown through in iconic moments, yet he has never reached the end finals, leaving dreams on.
Coño.
Stands out. He began the first round with a dramatic three-pointer from the look past Denver in 7 games. For the finals.
Pero tonto pa ito, may mabisa na tonto ke! Tumuli papya.
Ay, ten coño que bang suanang.
First season together was a roller coaster ride. The Bucks faced a midseason coaching change and dealt with injury. First round exit against the Indians. As he continued the journey with the Bucks, time will finally coincide with championship time. With that in mind, we give 7 out of 10 chance of winning. Forget the dark, who's been stellar. Not escaped, for better or worse. George Evan with the Indiana. Honest numbers as a solid role player. Breakout campaign came 2 seasons, during which he led the Pacers to back-to-back times, taking the Heat to the wire, but fallen just short of that early promise. Next 4 seasons between Indiana and Oklahoma City ended in
No te soño. Bang sualalata mo. What ora bang.
Expectations as the duo
Kita. Estamos.
delivering the Clippers' first
Estaba
ever
en flight, sí, estaba en flight. Tranquilo, tranquilo. Toch wat doen Bali.
stage. Injuries to both him have plagued their backs have significant.
No! Ata, ito mo? Ay, coño!
By the in the background.
Ay, alam, bota kita. Tiki Bali tamis.
6 out of 10 chance. Every Michael Jordan or
Está bom.
Greatness. There's Charles Barkley. Chip remains a glaring hole for otherwise exceptional career. Makes a misfortune. An unstoppable dynasty. Retirements without a title in their name. Barkley, one of the most dominant forwards, frequently reminds back of a championship by his numerous accolades. Sheen and a top 10 all-time scorer.
Coño! Nossa! No, man. Ali fumble.
Great pass.
Coño. Ay, que saque.
Usas nome com aqui.
Their legacies. Share your thoughts in the.
No. No.
Out our previous. Definitely worth it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see.
Ay, ten coño mi mamá que venga aquí.
Eso. Kopi gol. Just one base in the pocket, pero kopi rabia. Pensa bati bala.
Vamos a recargar coito. tough back, man.
Que aquí,
That a professional athlete makes me
está que con lo que te cae de regalo de comido.
Tobias Harris makes me want to do
Absoluto.
exactly that.
Shit, man.
4,
It's because
7,
Tobias Harris got paid his upfront.
sliding slam, olha, peita agora jogou lá que de bomba. Aí tudo bem, você tá matando. Não, tem passando, tá matando, tá matando. Pô, tá aqui, você foi pra você sabe, tá matando.
Tobias took up such a huge portion of the salary cap that it crippled the team.
No!
Puxa suave. Puxa suave.
No, ja. Acho que não se dura muito antes que smack porque seguiu, não é? Ai,
Vai,
nossa.
como é que esse negócio tá caindo? Vou fazer, ai, Joe. Losses back, muito na cena aqui suave.
The question of why they've struggled. The common ones ranging.
Yes,
Pô,
tá
ele
bom.
viu isso dá bom, porra, bom partido bala, né?
Certo, vamos a Andretti.
One that
Kita
nobody
pirun sangka. Quando itu pas bang? 13 bos pia com 2 pia back para suela.
2024. 6 seasons. All of the system's
7 gol diferença.
down by a giant acre the
Vamos
size of
ter
1,000 suns. The source of most, if not all of their pain and suffering during this time.
Vai esquerda tá aí, mano.
Ah,
Pode que te
okay. Dul saldo nossa pong ainda. É.
Cuidado de manhã, né? Cuidado de manhã, né? Você não pode ver isso.
Seca meta 7480 aqui.
7-2-8-2, camisa.
Ok. Siete bom. Ok. Fijo.
No, gostei, manhã, né?
Mete meia assim,
Fico só.
Fijo só. Saca, bem.
Gostei.
Resta.
Certo.